I think we're really very pleased with how things have gone so far. We launched the service in December of 2010. We tried to cover 110 million Americans at launch. We did that in 38 markets, more than 60 major airports around the country. We launched with a service that was really about providing mobile broadband services for mobile users, mostly using laptop computers. That was a great solution and evolutionarily better than what users were experiencing with 3G. We have a very high quality 3G network, but nonetheless we're seeing performance almost 10 times as great in terms of throughput, as well as lower latency for those users. So it was a hit amongst those who really understood why it is they would want such a thing. But we know that the key to mass adoption is really about providing compelling devices that fit a whole range of areas across the spectrum that users are going to take advantage of. So that includes not only the PCs, but smartphones. We've now launched two. The HTC Thunderbolt came out in mid-March, the Samsung Droid just very recently, the Droid Charge that is. Those two devices now give us Android, high quality, very capable smartphones for users to take advantage of. We announced it with our first quarter earnings that the HTC Thunderbolt, which had only been available for 2 weeks, had sold approximately 250,000 devices, so we're pretty pleased with that. And we expect as there's more form factors and more options, users will take advantage of it. We announced at the beginning of the year 10 devices, everything from embedded netbooks and with LTE in it to the modems, but also MiFi devices that would deal with this proliferation that we all have of different devices that need to communicate through Wi-Fi to the LTE network and out. So we think all of those things will just accelerate the take rate with customers, and it's one of those things where it maybe helps if you're not tuned into this marketplace to know someone who's used the device and is ready to talk about it and say, gee, I got this device and look how much faster the pages load, look how much better this application runs. That's really what's going to drive the market, we think. We don't really comment on our competitors' business models. I think what we've really tried to do is go to the marketplace and say, look, we have a true 4G solution. It is not an evolutionary change. It is an overlay network built in addition to our 3G infrastructure. It has different kinds of performance characteristics. It's got a different runway in terms of its future, and we've really tried to differentiate ourselves in that way. Verizon, is well known in the United States as being a high-quality service provider. It's been critical to the way that we've marketed our services, and we think we've earned our customers' trust. So we're hoping that when we say to them, look, this is really something different, they'll understand the message. So we announced a plan, right, which started with these 38 markets, but our plan is to be in 180 round numbers, 185 markets by the end of this year. So to get that, we're starting to move beyond, the first tier cities of the United States. In fact, we announced today that on Thursday, we'll launch the service in 6 additional markets in the southeast of the United States, places like Alabama, Montgomery, Alabama, and Tallahassee, Florida, places in North Carolina. And so these are not rural in the sense that these are urban areas, but they're, again, not the largest cities in the United States. Over the course of the next 3 years, by the end of 2013, we expect to cover 290 million Americans, which is to say we'll have coverage that's comparable to what we're offering with our 3G network today. And in the meantime, we've got devices that can move between the 4G and the 3G networks for someone who perhaps lived in a rural area but commuted into an urban area to work. It's one of the truisms, right, that it's hard to predict where innovation is going to come from. I've been in the industry for many years, but I didn't see YouTube coming. I didn't see that Facebook was going to be the kind of sensation and change the way people interact in the way that they did. So, for any of us to stand in front of a group and say, oh, well, gee, we know where the application space is going to go, it's very difficult. What we think is that, at the first, LTE just makes all the applications you use better. The lower latency means that even an application that doesn't move a lot of bits back and forth means it responds quicker. The page loads faster. You get an answer to the query sooner. Those kinds of phenomena will just improve people's willingness to reach for that device to answer the kinds of questions they use in their regular life because they feel like they can depend on it. And then what I think we'll see is a next range of innovation in the application space where people will come in and start to deliver things that weren't possible before because you didn't have that kind of latency, you didn't have the kind of throughput that you have now. On the device side, we're seeing tons of innovation. People looking at different ways to embed LTE chipsets in all sorts of different devices to allow everything from smart homes to remote monitoring of infrastructure, things like pipelines and remote vending machines and beverage machines. You can imagine that as we're all trying to figure out how to be efficient, both in terms of what we spend in business, but also in terms of how we consume energy, the fact that you could build a smart dispatch system that would only send you to the places where you really needed to deliver in an optimum route, that's very powerful, both for business and then for the kind of climate goals that we all have. So we think innovation will continue down those paths. Market-wise, right, we've built this plan which says through 2013 we're going to cover the United States from soup to nuts. And so, as you probably know, Verizon Wireless is a joint venture with Vodafone Communications. That means that Vodafone is really executing around the world. Verizon is really the arm that executes, Verizon Wireless is really the arm that executes in the United States. So that's the marketplace, and really getting to coverage is the first order of business for Verizon Wireless. But I think when you talk about the roadmap, it's really about dealing with the explosion of new applications and video that users are taking advantage of in lots of spaces. Verizon has a consumer business in the United States that brings fiber optics to people's homes. Our video service includes an on-demand library of more than 13,000 titles every month. Today, we have a service called FlexView that allows you to take your smart device, whether it's a tablet or a smartphone, a PC, and you can actually start watching a video on demand on your television, transfer it to your smartphone, watch it on the train, on the way to the airport, switch it to your laptop and watch it on the plane in flight. Those kinds of services about putting media at the center of the way that our users interact with the network, we think are some of the things that are really going to drive our business. Conferences like these we think are important for a number of reasons. One, it gives us a chance to network with our peers in the industry, share a little about what we've seen in the real world, talk about some of the challenges of tomorrow. And so, there's a great opportunity to do some of that. But also with a company like Verizon, which is an incredibly well-known brand in the United States, not so well-known outside of the United States, conferences like this are one of the ways that we help our customers to understand that, yeah, we really are significant industry players in spaces where they don't see us locally. So when we're serving multinational companies, big companies, in the United States we'll use our own wireless assets to deliver services for them in addition to all the terrestrial things we do. But around the world we'll integrate the solutions offered by others to deliver complete packages for those carriers, for those customers. So a show like this is part of trying to get our message across, that we're relevant, that we have something to offer, whether we're here in the Netherlands, whether we're home in a place like New York City, or we're in Asia Pacific and Hong Kong and Singapore and Thailand and the other markets where we offer service.